Hello and good evening or good morning or good day, depending on from where you're watching. But hello, let me just stop rocking the chair. Today I thought I would introduce my long distance must-haves as sort of like a starter guide for people who want to get into long distance running. Just to give a few tips, because I feel like getting into long distance running can be a bit mind-boggling, because you're like, okay, I'm running further, which is obviously more taxing on the body, and then you're like, so these are things that make it easier to do these long runs. But before I get into all of like my must-haves, obviously they're not must-haves. You can go for a long distance run if you've got somewhere to run and you've got a pair of shoes. Or even if you don't have a pair of shoes, you could go barefoot, probably. But these are things that definitely help the process of long distance running, or things that I found have really added value to my training. So obviously, take everything with a grain of salt. Think critically, like, are you just getting into long distance running? Have you been doing it for a while but you want to improve your experience doing it, or find things to help you? How much disposable income do you have to spare? How many hours per week do you spend on running? Like, is this one of your main hobbies? Or is this just something that's passing by? Think critically. These are must-haves for me, but they may not be for you. But these things I've found have helped me over the years. And mind you, I have now trained for 3 marathons, and I started probably long distance running about 4 years ago. When I say long distance running, I mean like training for between half marathon and marathon distance consistently. And these are things that I've collected over the years and found over the years. So for my first time running, I don't even think, I didn't have half these things, I didn't know half these things, and I still ran a marathon. So, but now, as my training has evolved and it's stuck with me, I've collected tips and bits along the way, and I thought I'd share them for anyone who also wants to start long distance running, or someone who's been doing it for a while and wants to elevate the experience. Enjoy, as I'm going to enjoy my tea. Boo! We've changed locations. We've made it to the garage because this is where I keep my trusty running shoes. And that's my first must-have, shoes / or shoe rotation. First and foremost, you don't need 50 pairs of shoes. Until my recent training block, I actually usually didn't have a shoe rotation and used 1 pair of shoes, which did lead to a little bit of issues along the line. But if you're starting out, you don't need 50 pairs of shoes. And if you decide you want to add in another pair of shoes. Now, the theory behind having a shoe rotation is that any given shoe may distribute the impacting forces of running differently on the given tissues. Not the same tissue gets the same strain or / impact every single time you're running, which is supported by evidence to reduce the risk of injury by just under 40%, which is quite a big amount if you're running a lot. Obviously, this risk will also decrease if you're properly warming up, if you're properly stretching, if you're properly resting, if you're properly taking in your nutrition. So there's a lot of other factors that play into it. However, having a shoe rotation may benefit reducing the risk of injury. However, the other things don't fall away, right? So, and it's actually improved my running form as well, which has been really interesting. And you know, besides focusing on the shoe rotation, it may also be useful to just focus on your shoe, okay? What I've done for the past few years is go to a proper running shop and have them look at my gait and have video me on a treadmill running in different shoes and figuring out how it's affecting my stability in them, how I feel in them, what my aims are pace-wise. Now I've gotten more into racing, I've also bought a pair of carbon shoes, but obviously you don't need a carbon plated shoe if you're not racing at all and you just want to go on leisurely long runs. You know, it doesn't make any sense to invest in a pair of carbons. Before focusing on getting a whole wardrobe full of shoes, focus on this shoe, figure out what works for you, not what's trendy, not what all of the Instagram stars are wearing. Focus on the shoe that works for you, that rhymes, and then work from there. And then you can start slowly building up your collection, and then the addiction starts. But before we go on to the shoe rotation, focus on the shoe, and then we can expand. And moving on from that, excuse me if I look a little bit obliterated, I just finished an interval session, which was very hard. You will need blister plasters. It's kind of inevitable to get blisters at some stage during long distance running, whether it's during your first race, whether it's during training, whether it's when you switch shoes, but it's kind of inevitable. So stock up on the plasters, take care of your feet, massage them, soak them, cream them, but take care of your feet. And while we're on the subject of feet, I also recommend cutting your toenails. If you know, you know. If you don't know, I hope you don't find out, and trust me, and probably the rest of the long distance community out there, cut your toenails. So nail clippers are another one. My next must-have is my trusty running vest. This thing has come in so handy over the past few years. Mind you, I did have another one before, and then it had so many holes in it that I truly had to invest in another one. R.I.P. my old running vest. But this one is the Salomon Active Skin 4. I love it. But any running vest really will do. The great thing that I find about running vests is that it gives me so much more freedom with my long running routes because I'm able to carry stuff with me. Hence the best. I mean, obviously, if you're going for a trail run, it can be really useful because you won't have access to a lot of facilities. But also, I like it just road running because it means I don't have to do loops where I have like a water station or a fuel station at a certain point, but I can run from point A to point B for I don't know how many kilometers and have my important stuff with me, like my water, my gels, some candy. I don't know why I said candy, I'm not American. Some toilet paper, keys, gloves, layers. It gives me more freedom with where I want to run. So this running vest has water bottles that slip in the front, but obviously find something that works for you. My other one didn't have water bottles, and instead I used a water bladder, which I put in the big part in the back, and then I ran that way. I do actually now find the bottles more comfortable, but obviously different people have different preferences. So find a vest that works for you, depending on this area at the front or the types of tops you like to wear when you run. Chafing might become an issue. So go to a shop, try them on, see which ones you like. But a running vest is very, very handy investment, especially if you want to go on something like a bakery run. Like, how great is that? I can run from home and just run and then end up at a bakery and I've got everything I want with me. Brilliant, brilliant. And one really useful thing about my vest is that it lets me carry all of my gels. So my next must-have are gels. And first of all, as long distance runners, we are not scared of carbs and we're not scared of sugar because they're what make us run fast and let us run for a long time. Obviously, there's a lot of different types of gels out there. There's caffeinated, isotonic, there's gels with lots of different texture. So obviously through trial and error, find what works for you. However, I do recommend taking gels which have glucose and fructose in them because studies have shown that the uptake of glucose is much higher when it's in combination with fructose. So my favorite gels, texture-wise, taste-wise, goo gels. And they're also quite small, which is really nice and handy to carry. And then the trusty Morton gels. Now, Morton are quite expensive, which is also why I like to subsidize in the goo every now and then. But these types, both in combination, work really well for me. And the texture of them is also quite thick, which I enjoy. I don't like the watery ones. There are also chews. These Dextra Energy ones I've never tried. I got them for free after a race, but I'll definitely try them at some stage. And these blocks I actually used to use from Trek. However, chews, I'm not the biggest fan of. Every now and then I like them, but I find they get stuck in my teeth quite a lot. I find it much easier to like glug down a gel and then, you know, trial and error, find what works for you. Replenishing your carb stores during your long runs will help preventing you hitting that wall later on in the race. It will keep you energized. Make sure you take them before you feel like you have to take them. And it will also help your recovery afterwards. I personally know from experience, when I take gels during long runs, I don't have such like a hot-headed hunger the rest of the day and the day after, but it's much more balanced. Go with what works for you, but gels. You gotta love sugar. Now, the next one I recommend with a little bit of hesitation, but something that does really help me are electrolytes. Now, the role of electrolytes is to help maintain balance in your body. So they're minerals that help regulate the vital organ system and help you stay hydrated. But you can and do get these just through your nutrition, as in the electrolytes. However, electrolyte tablets like these will just help you get them quicker. So what I recommend is not relying on them, not taking them just to stay hydrated, but more as like a tool. So for me personally, I like taking them after super long runs, hence this video, or runs that I do in a lot of heat, because then you're losing more water. Your body will have likely lost more water than it would if you're going on a 30-minute recovery run. So taking things like electrolyte tablets can then help the body pick up or absorb water quicker than it would if you don't take the tablets. But you don't have to take the tablets. You can also then just focus on nutrition for the rest of the day, and you should be able to get what you need that way. But obviously, for example, if you know you're going out and about immediately after your run and you don't know what the food situation is going to be like, what the water and drink situation is going to be like, just chuck one of these in a glass of water and it will help absorb the water quicker. And I do really like these fizz ones because the electrolyte content isn't like abnormally high as it is in a lot of other tablets, and then it also contains vitamins and they taste really good. So yeah, electrolytes I recommend, but think about your use of them. Don't rely on them and don't assume that all is well if you do take electrolytes, because that ain't the way. Take them as a tool for your nutrition, but I do love myself some electrolytes. Now, my next topic is snacks. Obviously, as your mileage increases, your energy output increases, and therefore your energy input should increase. And when you start long distance running, you probably will find your hunger increase more. But once you get used to it, you don't really notice it as much. But obviously you still need that fuel. And sometimes you're out and about, sometimes the train is late, sometimes the dinner reservation place, restaurant doesn't have what you desire. So just always have some snacks on you. I always have snacks on me. And what you will also probably find is that what previously used to be a meal may become a snack for you. For example, 2 slices of toast used to fill me up for a meal. Now it's barely a snack. It's just a blip in my day. So always have snacks on you, just in case, you know. I don't think I ever leave the house anymore without anything. It's either a little sandwich, some bars of some type. I love Trek bars, which we've already been over. I love Trek. Nut bars, piece of fruit. Just have something on you at all times because you never know. And very important with the long runs is your recovery. And one thing that has really helped me is my foam roller. Now, there's contradictory evidence on the benefits of foam rolling, but the idea is that it targets the fascia, which is the layer of tissue around the muscles, which is meant to improve its flexibility, which then has a knock-on effect and helps the muscles recover. For me, I definitely feel less stiff after rolling post-run. Probably also part of that is because it means I take more time with my stretching and cool down and recovery, but it does work for me, so I recommend. Hello, I just finished a 16k run, and that was like the best thing I've done in I can't remember how long. Oh my god, I loved it. And the pouring rain in sludge. So my final tip to anyone out there is to find fun in it, a community. Find something that drives you to want to run, because you're going to have mornings where you wake up and you're like, fuck, I don't want to do this. But having a race you signed up for, or a friend you can go and run with, or a podcast or an audiobook you can listen to, it makes the whole thing so much easier on the days when you do lack motivation, because you will. A few things that really help me are to learn about the sport. I'm such a book nerd and a learner and know-it-all. So being able to read about how to improve your lactate threshold or reading about different training plans really gets me motivated. So if that's something that motivates you, find a way to educate yourself about the sport. Find people to follow online. Like my personal favorite is Philly Bowden. She's so inspiring and educational and real. She doesn't glamorize the sport. And the training plan that I always use, because I find it so motivating, is the free one on the Nike Run Club app. It's brilliant. Coach Bennett, I couldn't even count how many times he's got me out of bed. For example, 2 days ago, I went on an interval session, and one of the coaches in the guided runs called me a superstar. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm a superstar. So final tip, find something that motivates you, find something that drives you, sign up for a race, find that friend, find a YouTube channel to follow. Just get excited about the sport, because in that way, it's never boring. Because it is never boring. I feel like people get it wrong sometimes. They're like, oh, running, you're doing the same thing every day. No. That was my final tip to you. Look at that. We're back at the first spot again. How did that happen? Those are my tips. Those were my tricks. Those were my must-haves. Those are my thoughts and feelings towards certain bits and bobs that have elevated my running journey. I hope that it gave you something to think about, or helped you make a decision if you're between like buying a new pair of shoes, like your 5th pair of shoes, or investing in a running vest, or trying a different type of gel, or etc. etc. I hope it helped you. If it didn't, I'm very sorry, and if you are just getting into long distance running, welcome to the community. It's a great community, and just you wait, it becomes an obsession. But also, if you're new to long distance running, don't go out buying everything and taking what I've said as gospel, because you need to find what works for you, and you might do one long run or run a marathon or a half marathon and be like, what the was that, and never want to do it again. And while I keep on saying long distance running, obviously if you're training for like a 5k distance, some of these things can probably help you as well. Or if you're like hiking, but I personally am a long distance runner, so that's what I like connect them with. But obviously any form of endurance sport where you're like on your legs for a long time, these could be applicable too. So, take it as you may. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope to see you soon. I better see you soon.